Since we've been doing these short video clips for the sale of pigeons, I've had quite a few questions asked about pigeons, handling, what we're looking for, what have you. So I've just got Reese round to do a 20-minute, 25-minute video to put on YouTube on what we actually are doing and why we're doing it. Everybody handles pigeons differently, and just now I'll go and get one and I'll show you. I say one, there's only 2 pigeons here now. We got rid of the pigeons last year for personal reasons, but we're shortly hoping to have a new loft, which won't be used this year, but it will be used at some time in the future. Railant's coming down to measure up, so we'll put something up where the lofts were. And they'll stay there until we're ready. But at the moment I don't intend to raise pigeons from here. I just want to see how the local racing goes on more than anything. The clubs have been swapping and changing like most of them do, and personally I think they're going down the wrong way for the benefit of pigeon racing into Middlewich. It's all well and good trying to get more in and what have you from different areas, but you lose the concept of racing pigeons in your own town, and it's never always a good idea. But anyway, getting back to these videos and handling the pigeons. Many years ago, we were putting pigeons through down the local club, and I was talking to Sid Latham about them, and he was saying, like, you know, he said how well I handled a pigeon. And he said there's a lot of people cannot handle pigeons no matter how long they've had them, and that is a fact. You go down and you see pigeons, people holding pigeons in their hands, and they seem clumsy with them. They don't seem to be able to grasp that it's easy enough when you've got the pigeon in your hand. You've just got to place your hands in the right places on them, and it was something that I've always looked at, and I've many times stopped people when they're handling pigeons and just suggested that they did them another way. It doesn't always work because some people, for some reason, cannot handle them, and they handle them in their own way, yes, fine, but not the way the pigeon's comfortable. Some pigeons don't like being handled anyway, so with some of them you're at a loss to start off with. But anyway, going back to these video clips, the idea is that we're selling pigeons on the auction site. People like to see a bit of them, and you know, rather than a still picture. So we can show them a bit, show them the pigeon, show them the wing. They can get an idea of the back, the straightness of a pigeon. Some people don't like the tail going down or up. I've seen winners with them both going down and up. But my preference has been the pigeon in your hand, tail slightly down, better for the distance, stronger back. The tail's got to be good because that's the rudder, that's what directs the pigeon. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get a pigeon now, and while we're getting the pigeon, Reese will show you on the video where these 2 pigeons are kept that we've currently got here. It's only a box on the side of the shed, and it came about because we had a checker cock come back. And the owner said rattle it, make it go, but whatever we did, the pigeon was staying. So what I did was I got it in the shed that night, or a couple of nights later actually, and put it in a basket, fed it and watered it, and by this time I'd refunded the fancier with the money paid for it, and settled the pigeon down here. And what I was doing was I was putting it in a basket, or it put itself in the basket overnight, lid down, basket in the shed so that the cats couldn't get at it. Next morning, bring the basket out, put it here on the patio, open the lid, and the pigeon would go off. It wouldn't go far, but it would go off. Shut the lid down, basket back in the shed. Come afternoon, late afternoon, bring the basket out, open the lid, and the pigeon would come down, go in the basket, lid down, put him away in the shed. and this went on for about 5 days. Anyway, come the Saturday, I was sitting talking to Elizabeth in the conservatory, and I said I could do one of them hens coming back that we lost racing last year. Anyway, this after dinner, we were having another brew. Elizabeth said one of Peter's is flying around with Fred. Anyway, when they dropped down, I went out and I could see that this hen was one of ours. She had the ETS ring on and the phone number on. So I got her in the shed with the cock and put them both in the basket at night. So next morning, put a box on the side of the shed, and Fred and Frida have been here now. In fact, they're now sitting eggs, due to hatch in about 10 days. But it was amusing to see this cock, putting him in the basket, him going in the basket of his own free will, putting him in the shed, out again next morning. And it shows what you can do with a pigeon if you want to. Anyway, I'm going to go now and I'm going to show you, Reese is going to show you the box where these two are, and I'll get Fred out and I'll show you about handling them, what they're like. We've now got Fred, as he's been called. Fred and Frida they are. He wants to get back to his eggs. He's going to likely to make a mess on my hand as well. He's been on the nest for a couple of hours. We're on about handling a pigeon. And what I like to see in a pigeon is that this pigeon it's pretty straight, but does have a slight tilt on its tail, on its back. Not a lot, but it is a bit. And he is a lovely cock. He had something like 4 prizes as a young bird last year. And it's a shame that he's not being raced. And one or two people have said to me, you ought to race him. He said the hen and the cock in that one box should race well. He's in lovely condition, lovely white wattles. When you're holding a pigeon, you can see he wants to get back out and get... Right, I was just interrupted when we were in the middle of on about handling a pigeon. It's quite simple really. I've got big hands, but most people should be able to handle them. If the pigeon's happy in your hand, it's quite simple. But you just get your fingers either side of them and just get your hand round and let the pigeon settle in your hand. It's fine. It's a lovely pigeon. It's a pity he's not being raced this year, but he's not going to be, so that's it. Anyway, one of the things we do talk about is the eye. And you'll find that in a lot of them, well, in fact most pigeons have got a good solid eye colouring, but some have not. Many years ago I had one with a blue circle and it looked a very weak eye, but once you got it under a glass you could see the depth in it and it really was nice. And that cock, he was a good cock, and it was in the 70s, late 70s, mid-70s I had him, and he come from a chap in Beverley. But he was an exceptional eye, and you don't see many. In fact, I only remember seeing one since. It was all blue it was around the circle. Very intelligent pigeon, he was off some good pigeons. But this one's got a gold eye. And he's a type of pigeon I would fancy for racing and breeding. But as you can see, he's slightly down on his tail, good back on him. Now the wing on him, I'll just show you the wing on him. When we talk about the wing, the back wing from primaries to the body, the greater that distance, the further the pigeon is likely to fly. You don't want thin flights. There's some with thin flights, they're not going to get up any speed on them. They need to be a good solid flight on them. There's not really a lot you can tell about a pigeon, tell people about a pigeon, because it's experience with handling them that you gain that tells you what a pigeon's like. With a pigeon, it's what you get used to, it's common sense. And as I say, getting the pigeons in your hand with a blindfold is a good idea to go to a loft or one of the local shows and have a pigeon put in your hand and be able to talk about it without actually looking at it. Get the feel of the pigeon and see what it's like. I mean, this cock is in really good condition. In actual fact, it's the first race today in the local club, so it'd have been alright to go, because he won early on last year in the shorter races. That's where he performed from. But I'm going to put him back in the box now, because he is sitting eggs. But just to handle a pigeon, just get it to settle in your hand first. Don't be overzealous with it, just gently handle a pigeon. Some people are very rough with pigeons. I'll put it back in his box. Yeah, I've put Fred back in his box now and he's happy with that. The best way to get to know pigeons really is to go down the club and mark the pigeons, put the pigeons through. Don't be frightened of them, put them through and handle the pigeons, and when you handle the pigeons from the winning lofts, you'll see what they need to be like. But in this modern day, there's far too many people don't mark the pigeons. They stand at the back and they think they haven't got to do it. You should all mark and everybody should take the turn. And that is by far the best place to go to do it. Club racing is, as we know, is on the decline. Well, pigeon racing is on the decline in general, and I've very often been asked about young people coming in. It's a subject that we can discuss and discuss until the cows come home, and you'll not do any good with it until there's actually something done. And my view is, and has been for a long time, it's the people that have been in the sport in the 50s and now in the 50s. They're the people that have left the sport you want to get back. And we do see quite a few coming back into the sport, plus a few youngsters. Not a great deal, but there are a few youngsters in the sport still, and they do go down to the clubs. We're very lucky here at Middlewich. We've got some good young lads, well, good compared to my age of course, but there's some good lads down here and they do a good job. I've got one or two girls help out with the pigeons. Lynn does very well. She's always down helping. She enjoys going down, and Joyce has something to do with the club and the Fed. So we've got the ladies are involved. But go down to the club, handle the pigeons that are winning from the winning lofts. Have a look at them and learn the game that way. That's the way to learn how to handle pigeons. Go down. I did it right from day one when I joined the club, and I enjoyed handling them. But going on to the politics sides, in this game there's too many people do a lot of that around the bar, instead of getting out and going down the road and working the pigeons, because that's where you get your winnings from. Not talking at night about them down there, having a few drinks. Get out and get something done at home. There's many a person you'll see You know, they'll go down, they'll have a few drinks, can't understand why my pigeons don't win. It's because they're not prepared to work with them. All you need to do to get pigeons to win, you need them healthy and you need to train them. Yes, I know there's people that don't train with woodcocks and all the rest of it, but I've seen these people down the road and they're telling me they don't train with woodcocks. I've seen them down the road several times a week, training the pigeons, training with woodcocks. A to B is what you need to do with them. And young birds, I got that I don't let them out round home. Once they're flying, they've had the first training tosses, they're in the basket, to a point, straight back into the loft. And they don't go out of that loft again until the next training toss. Training toss, back into the loft. And that's how you train them. You really need to train them that way. How far? Well, I've heard people first toss 25 miles. And if your pigeons are ranging round home, that's not a problem. Get them down the road, 25 mile, should be fine. If they're not coming home, they're not healthy. Ranging is what young birds do. I've had them here, round and round in a circle, never gone out of sight. So they've actually then gone in the basket. They've still come back. They'll still make that journey home. They know where they should be. So get them healthy and train them, and then pigeons will be able to compete with the rest. Down at your local club. National racing is different, you treat the pigeons differently. You have to do, because they've got to learn to break from, and cover a lot of distance on their own if they're going to win. I remember in 2006, I had a real good year when the pigeons couldn't go across the channel every week. It was 2-week intervals, and the National had 3 races. Santa Nazaire was the first, where we were third open. The 2 pigeons that beat us were flying down 177 mile less. Had 4 in the first 100. We then went to St Malo, had 3 in the first 100. The best one was 32nd open. And then we sent to Saints. We were 93rd open with the first and had 3 in the 100s. Only putting 4 in the clock each time. The last race, actually at Saints, we could have put ever so many in and had them on the result. When I say the result, when I first started, it was 500 on the result, and that's what I class in the National. Always classed the first 500. Was never any different. So anyway, it's just a general chit chat about pigeons. We can talk about them all day long, and we can talk about what we need. The one thing I will say is, if you're going to buy a team of pigeons, don't go for a strain or a family of pigeons as they call them, because you go over to Belgium, theirs are all crossed anyway. Nobody has a family of pigeons that are inbred to that one line. That was Jansen Brothers many years ago, but I was told that they did bring odd pigeons in. Bushart, they called them Busharts years ago. George Bushart used to get pigeons from anywhere and take them into his loft, and that was what he did. And in this country, the one loft that does do it and does to a great effect is Syndicate Lofts, where Peter Fox and his team bring in good pigeons and breed them together, and he does very well with them. But the majority of people, where you go to lofts, winning lofts, you find that they're crossed. They won't tell you that they are, but the majority of pigeons have got a cross in them somewhere along the line. If you look at Van den Abele's pedigrees, he's got Vital in them. Vital is not a Van den Abele. It's based on Turin Rigoli pigeons, but he brought it in as a cross to strengthen his own pigeons. So when you're looking for pigeons, get a couple of families. For instance, I've just been to, I've just done a piece on Jerry Clements, and he's had a real good few years in the National. Charlie Peel took some photos, sent them to me, so I've had a talk to Jerry and got some information to put an article together. And I was talking to Jerry and he was saying originally he had the bush arts, then he introduced the Willie Tass pigeons, and then a few years ago he brought in the Van der Rijs pigeons, and he was saying that he inbred the Van der Rijs, very inbred them, and then crossed them out with the others, and that's where he got a lot of his good pigeons from, or most of his good pigeons from. So crosses, two good families together, do well. So I'm not going to carry on because it's just rambling on about just the sport in general, and most people know my views. I just wish that the sport was run a bit better for the fanciers and taking more into account what is needed rather than what a few people think they think the sport needs. Pigeon men are what are needed, not rules and regulations set down that stop you doing things, that stop the sport going forward. You need to move on and get the sport back on its feet, because there's a lot of complaints about it at the moment, and the complaints are from all over. Pigeon racing is a great hobby, and it really is a lot of enjoyment there for those that want it. So I'm going to leave it at that for now before I say a few things that I shouldn't be saying. So we'll see something again.